until just recently was the head of Islamic Studies at the Royal College of Art in London and was considered to be the world's leading sacred architect. He has done many monasteries and meditation halls as well as other interesting buildings, and teaches at the Royal College sort of the ancient wisdom, things that have been lost over the ages in terms of the divine nature of geometry and how buildings must be prepared to accept the human spirit as well as the human body. He has since been put in charge of Director of Studies of Prince Charles's new Institute, Prince Charles of England, the Prince of Wales. He's now in charge of his new institute, which will open in October. And Keith was, again, divinely inspired. There are some fascinating, and I hope that someday you'll be able to interview him, things that went on. I can only tell you that one of the things in preparation for the land itself was, which we asked Swami, should an ancient mandala, a mandala is a sort of a Buddhist symbol that represents a vortex and an entonement, and the land had to be prepared, according to Dr. Critchlow, with this ancient mandala being drawn out on the bare land at a certain point on the framework of the layout. Sai Baba concurred that yes, this mandala must be used, and Dr. Critchlow and I headed out for the raw land, and he said, well, you know, this, I've done this once for some Tibetans, and this mandala is supposed to also have a symbol attached to it, which must be an eagle, either sitting on the property or flying above the property. And we thought, well, gosh, you know, how would this be possible here at Puttaparthi? When we arrived out at the hospital location, there were 5 eagles sitting on the ground in the exact spot where this ancient mandala was eventually drawn, and entonements were made when we started the project. Sort of made a pact with him and set up a foundation, which I didn't have any money to put in at the time, but put in shares in my business, and said that if I ever was blessed to make some money out of this crazy business of rock and roll, that I would set it aside through this foundation and offer it to Sai Baba as a form of turning this cash into something good. I was always worried about how good the hard rock really was in terms of spirituality. Over the years, he has been kind enough to tell me that the hard rock was an oasis of light in a sea of darkness, which I certainly believe myself. So when I sold my business, which was on the American Stock Exchange and the London Stock Exchange, I came here to Puttaparthi and told Sai Baba that I had this stash of cash, and what should we do with it? And he said, we will build a hospital. And that's how it all came to be as far as my involvement in the start of this project. At the beginning of the project, Hospital Corporation International, which has built over 600 hospitals, they're out of Nashville, Tennessee, they developed the whole industry of building hospitals worldwide and have built more hospitals than anyone else. They immediately were brought on board to help with part of the planning of the hospital, especially the equipment planning. They told me that this job was of trying to get it done in such a short period of time, because Sai Baba suddenly announced the hospital in 1 year and said 1 year from today it will open. The experts all said that's impossible. It will take us a year just to plan this hospital properly. Through Swami's grace, we got the medical planning done in about 6 weeks. It took a number of, in fact, there were 100 draftsmen who were working on the project as far as drafting out the plans, and about half a dozen medical planners who were going over the actual plans. And I'm sure it was a divinely inspired, or they certainly felt they were, And certainly the amount of time that it took must have been divinely inspired. They worked day and night, including the draftsman who drew the actual plans. And the whole thing was planned, and the first basic layout drawings were brought to Sathya Sai Baba 6 weeks after we began the project. The interesting thing was, and continues to be, his amazing knowledge of the plan, and every small little detail he was interested in and had tremendous comments about, and made many changes in the medical plan. Well, it's very interesting. I felt very similar to the aspect of giving the money. I felt that it was symbolic. I felt that it was symbolic in receiving that bowl for all the people that had worked so hard, all the people that I'd been involved with for that entire year. And I think that the 4 recipients really were receiving their beautiful flower bowls as symbols for Sathya Sai Baba of all the people that worked in their various divisions. One was Dr. Venugopal, who's a distinguished surgeon, in fact, India's most distinguished surgeon, who has worked so very, very hard. And I'm sure he received his as a symbol of all the doctors and nurses and technicians. The same with Mr. Ramakrishna of Larsen and Toubro. He received it for the amazing work that was done. Besides saying that it was impossible to plan this hospital and draw the plans as well as make the medical plan, they said it was absolutely impossible to build. In 8 months' time, 2,300 some odd men working 3 shifts round the clock built that institute. Not one person was hurt during that period of time through Sathya Sai Baba's grace. And I know that Mr. Ramakrishna, if he was here at this moment, would certainly feel that he had received that on behalf of all of those men and women who worked to build that hospital.